Welcome to the Copy Closer podcast. Today, I've got a really special guest for you, somebody that I've been studying and watching online, somebody that I'm aspiring to be as good as. This person isn't just a copywriter. He's not just a marketer. He's an overall genius business person. Some of the stuff and campaigns that I've seen him do are unlike anything else that I've seen. And especially in an online world, he combines a lot of multimedia channels. He does offline, online stuff, and really covers you from all angles. So I'm really excited to have him on the show. We've got Justin Goff. Justin, man, how are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
Saint man, dude, I'm so happy you're here. I've been wanting to interview you, wanted to have you on the podcast for a minute. So it's awesome to finally get you on here. It's going to be a little selfish for me. I'm going to get some cool info.
All right. That sounds good.
Sweet, dude. So, a lot of people, if they don't know you, first off, if you don't know who Justin Goff is, go on Facebook, add him as a friend. Justin, Goff is your last name, correct? Goff? Yep. So go ahead, add him as a friend. But Justin, man, a lot of people, I love hearing their story of how they stumbled into this marketing or copywriting and direct marketing world. And I'd love to hear your story as well, because I believe you started as a copywriter, right?
Yeah. So actually, before that, I started as an affiliate marketer, and kind of how I got into that was I told you part of the story last time before we cut off. But so when I was in college, I was really big into like sports betting, and I was actually pretty good at it. And I would make like a couple $1,000s like a season betting on football and basketball games. That basically would like pay part of my rent, and that would pay like books and a bunch of stuff like that. And basically I didn't have to get a job like all my friends.
It's like the dream life for college kids and a lot of people.
Yeah, it was great. And then I basically got really cocky thinking I knew more than I did. And one weekend I bet a whole lot more money than I had. Wound up losing basically every game I bet on that weekend. And I don't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere between like $1,200 and $2,000 that I owed. And I did not have that kind of money just sitting in my bank account at the time. So I came up with this idea after I saw a bunch of these guys online who like sell their picks for money. And I was like, all right, I could do that. I was like, I'm good at this. So I put up this like ugly ass website. God, it was so terrible.
How long ago was this?
Man, this was probably like 2005, 6, somewhere in there.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. So over 10 years ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. And so I put up this website and I tried to sell my picks, and that fell flat on its face. Did not work. I ended up actually having to go get a job as a valet just so I could pay off the debt that I owed. But I kind of kept at it with trying to sell the picks, and like I just kept doing everything. I was like spamming forums. I was like trying to make all these blog pages. Nothing was working. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just kept doing it. I was like too stubborn to quit. I just kept doing it. And then randomly, I remember one winter break. So I was still in college. One winter break, I was back at my parents' house, and this is back when everybody was still on like dial up, and I'm like up in their computer room on their like 1999 Dell computer, checking my email, and I noticed that I had a PayPal thing, and I like opened the PayPal thing up, and someone had bought one of my pick packages for like $140.
Wow.
Yeah. And I still remember the excitement. I like jumped up and I was like screaming, running around the room. Couldn't believe it. It was magical. I always tell people
that time is like, it's life changing because it validates everything you've been trying. You're like, holy shit, if I just get 1,000 more of these, I'm going to be rich.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I always tell people now, like, I've had days in my business and previous businesses where I've done over 200 grand in a day, but like I still remember that day that I had sold $140 worth of stuff, like more than anything. So anyways, that got me into affiliate marketing. I did affiliate marketing for a while. And I was doing stuff with poker, gambling sites, all that. And then I kind of got sick of it. And then the whole like poker boom fell apart. And I was like, all right. And I got really into fitness stuff, and I wanted to get into fitness. So I partnered with the guy who was my trainer at the time. And I was like, oh yeah, let's make an ebook. This was probably around like 2008, 2009-ish.
Okay.
And he was really into a lot of the CrossFit paleo stuff. And that was kind of before all that was really huge. And so we did
starting to come out, actually, I think, right? Yeah, you guys were right at the beginning.
Yeah, we were pretty early on it. And so we decided to make an ebook about that. And it did it struggled at first because we were trying to build like a blog and trying to build a following, and I didn't know how to like drive cold traffic. I didn't really know anything about copywriting except that all the pages I saw I thought were super ugly and super hypey. And
no one will buy this stuff.
Swore that I would never make pages like that.
10 years later.
Yes. Yeah. Then eventually me and him. So interestingly, what happened was our partnership kind of fell apart at one point. I kept kind of going, and then I basically had what I called a week from hell. Basically in the span of about 3 days, I had a consulting client at the time who made up about 90% of my income. He dropped me because he wanted to do something else with his business. So he's like, I'm not going to do this anymore. So he dropped me. My girlfriend that I was living with at the time came home from work one night and decided she was going to break up with me. We had been dating for like 3 years. And then that same night, I'm a huge Cavs fan. I grew up like right near Cleveland. That was the same night that LeBron decided to leave Cleveland and go to Miami. So
it's the worst week ever.
Yeah. So not only did I lose I lost all my income, and then I got my heart broken twice in one night. So it was just god awful. Anyways, that really like sent me into a bad place where I was just like living in this house by myself. It was like me and my dogs. I was fucking just miserable. I think I had maybe a month and a half's worth of money left to kind of live on. I was like considering moving back in with my parents. I was considering getting a real job. And then I really just basically like back against the wall, had no other options. I was like, well, I'm sitting on this product I've been working on. And I was like, we've never actually like tried to run traffic to it. I was like, why don't I try to figure it out? And slowly but surely, I was doing like $10 a day on Facebook ads, and slowly but surely it was losing money. And then I kept testing. And then eventually like it started breaking even. And I was like, oh, that was pretty easy to get it to break even.
How long, and I don't know if you'll remember this or anything, but how long until you broke even? Because I know a lot of people, they'll say, hey, we're going to go all out. We're going to go crazy and run ads. And then we're going to have this like $500 budget or something. And then $100 of the $500 gets spent. They haven't made a sale. And they're like, oh shit, cut the whole thing.
I was kind of lucky. It probably took, I would say, a month before I started breaking even.
That's a long time in the internet marketing world. People want results like tomorrow.
So yeah, I think that's quick.
No, I agree. Well, I agree. I think it is quick, but I think that shows something about your character that I don't really want to gloss over, because you're successful, especially now. But I think what makes you successful as well is that type of personality. You weren't making money your first 30 days. I mean, people need to pay rent. They need to pay their mortgage. They got bills to pay. So most folks, especially when they get started online, they're trying to make something work and it's not working, they'll give up, especially if they've lost a few $100. I mean, shoot, dude, you're doing it for 30 days. That's 30 days of no money coming in, and you still kept going.
It was making sales, but it obviously wasn't like break even or profitable. And I eventually through kind of testing got it to be break even. Then I got it to be profitable. And when I got it to be profitable, I was like, all right. But I started just scaling. I went from spending $10 a day to 100 to 500. And then when it finally maxed out, it was at like 5,000 a day.
Wow.
And that was really what kind of gave me the big break, because that was at a time when everybody was doing launches and everything was so focused on launches. And I was 100% opposed to like just playing the whole circle jerk game of fucking kissing everybody's ass and getting them the mail for you.
Right.
And I was like, no, I'm going to figure out cold traffic. I don't want to like rely on anyone.
But that brought you affiliates, I assume, as well.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Because you've just proven it in a harder market. I mean, if you can make something work with cold traffic, and if you're able to not just break even, but be profitable, I mean, that's almost non-existent nowadays. That'll definitely attract affiliates.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly too at a time when it was like wild, wild west on Facebook. So you could kind of run anything. There wasn't really a whole lot of
compliance wasn't really there yet.
But then on the other note, also none of like my funnels were advanced. Like I was making that work without upsells. Like that's insane.
You were making it. So no. So what? If you don't mind me asking, what was your funnel like then? Was it just like a straight sale, like opt in?
I
And
literally had a straight sale product for $39.95. I did not have any upsells. I did not email the prospects on the back end. I didn't understand that you're supposed to make all the money on the back end. So like I was making like $2,000 a day in profit off the front end.
oh my
I
god,
look back now and just shake my head because it's like, oh my God, it's left just thousands, probably millions.
millions,
Yeah, millions.
millions of dollars,
Yeah.
dude. I'm already like, holy moly! How can we revive this offer? Where's that list?
Yeah. It was,
So.
yeah.
So you grew that, I assume, right? So what was your transition from there? Did you keep on pushing that market or that offer? Did you transition to something else?
Yeah. So I did that for a while. And then that business eventually fell apart so I kind of kept my partner on where I was just kind of like paying. He wasn't even a partner anymore. It was more just like work for me. And then he eventually wanted to leave completely. And that kind of ruined that business. But I had made enough through that in that year that basically gave me a bunch of capital to really kind of figure out what I wanted to do next. I could kind of even take a little bit of a break. And then I launched a supplement company in about 2013 or so. And this is with my partner at the time was Brandon Kelly. And we kind of seen a couple of these.
Oh, I know Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
We'd seen a couple of these like testosterone offers, and I was like, oh, I feel like that's going to be and this is kind of before testosterone became like a thing. And I was like, oh, I feel like that's going to be a hot niche. And we decided to make a testosterone supplement. We put it out there. Nothing huge, but we did like maybe 20,000 customers in the first year. We scaled it to like $1 million. I kind of got to the point after $1 million where me and him had a discussion where I was like, me and you are both good at like scaling this traffic and doing that part, but neither of us have any idea how to grow a company. I had no fucking clue how to like hire people or do it. And so my friend Alan Baylor actually came in and bought Brandon out, and Alan had a ton of success in the survival niche. And so he was like, so we had a partner. And then long story short, me and Alan took that company from $1 million to 23 million in about just under 3 years.
Wow. So when you brought him on, was he kind of like the operations guy who's going to help with like the systems and making sure everything works well and stuff like that? Was that kind of his role?
Yeah. So Alan was really good at traffic, and then Alan was really good at operations and that type of stuff. So our fit was actually really good because it allowed me to stay in my lane and focus on copy, products, and marketing. And Alan kind of did his thing, and we were actually a really natural fit with that because my weaknesses were his strengths, and his strengths were it was a very good fit.
Well, I think that's pretty cool that you're open to doing that. I think a lot of times, and I had this happen with myself, especially when I started running my own offers. I was like, I want to own the whole thing. I want to do the whole thing. But what I've recently realized is, I partnered up with my buddy Alex in Romania, and he's run way more than I have, and I'm like, it's way more profitable when you can just find someone who's great at their superpower and just share the profits with them. Have you always been someone who looks for partners to kind of fill that gap? I think that's kind of something important to point out because a lot of people aren't even aware that they don't need to do everything,
Yeah. You got to know yourself and your weaknesses. And I'm very aware that I'm terrible at hiring and managing people. Not only am I terrible at it, I have no interest in like learning how to do it.
That's for boring people, man.
Yeah. Certain people, it's a very different skill. Being a marketer, I've realized like I'm a marketer. I'm very good at marketing. So that's like why my current business is very much more a coaching type thing where me and Stefan are coaching other people's copywriters and we're coaching business owners and stuff on copy. Because there's no infrastructure to that business. It's like a high cash flow business. It's something we're both really good at, and there's no need for 20 employees.
Right. So you guys grew that one company before you moved to this one with Stefan, and we can introduce him after because I know I had him on the show too. So it was so cool that you guys were business partners. Like, holy crap! I got the superstars on my show. This is awesome. So you brought in Alan, you said, right?
Yeah.
So you brought him in. You guys grew that to 8 figures, $20-something million, I believe, right? And then what happened from there? Did you guys kind of sell it off, leave it, move on, transition, something else, or what was
yeah, in 2017, Alan came to me and basically, he was like, we either want to own the whole company or we want to get out of the health business completely. Basically we were sharing employees between his survival company and my company and our company together. And they were running into some issues with like, why would they put all the resources into this company that they only own a percentage of and that they own everything of? So we kind of came to a conclusion. I was like, all right, well, how about you buy me out? We worked on a buyout over like 4 or 5 months. And yeah, so I basically left the company and got a really nice buyout. And after that, I took about a year off because I went through a lot of shit, just kind of personally realizing that I had been chasing this goal like for so long of like getting rich. Then I got all this money and I realized like I was still unhappy, which
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was a very hard thing to deal with at the time because, like I said, this was like, I don't know, since 2005, 2006, like this is what I was striving for. And then I became a multimillionaire and I'm like, oh, I'm still just as fucking miserable as I was yesterday.
Why do you think that is? Was that a fulfillment? Because a lot of people chase money, myself included. I love chasing money, but it's something I realize myself. Every time I hit this certain goal of income that I'm going to get, I realize I'm not necessarily much happier than I was before. I have more resources, more things to do, but nothing's really changed. You know, it sounds like you worked really hard for so long, but maybe you never had a time to reflect and say, damn, I've accomplished a lot. Maybe I should do some celebrations or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, it goes a lot deeper than that. I mean, the reality is what I was driven by really had nothing to do with like kind of my passion or me wanting to like really build something meaningful. It was like much more an extension of trying to be driven by sort of approval or something like that, which it's quite common among a lot of entrepreneurs. It's definitely not something that relegated to just me. But yeah, and it's one of those things where you keep building, and you think like the next, okay, I built a 7-figure company. Okay, that didn't do it. Maybe if I build an 8-figure company, that'll do it. Maybe if I get this car, maybe if I get this house, and then it's one thing on top of another. Then it never actually fills the hole that you're trying to fill.
So what have you found a way to possibly fill that hole? What have you, because you still have to go after success. I mean, you still got to get the money and stuff, but how do you fill that? If you're not right inside, you know, that's going to affect your sales for sure and your results.
Lots of therapy.
Lots of
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of it I've realized too is just, especially in our space, like so many of the entrepreneurs are so driven by, everything is so achievement, so accomplishment based, where it's like I kind of said, it's money, it's cars, it's whatever it is. And then you just keep trying to achieve that. And it's like, sooner or later you hit the point where you're like, I can't do more. I can't achieve more. And this isn't making me any happier. Like what is it that I really want to do that's going to make me happy? Yeah. And a lot of it's usually actually outside of your business stuff. That's kind of at least mine. And a lot of people I just kind of watch who I know are entrepreneurs who have kind of gone through the same thing where it's like they hit this point where they just burn out because it's so many years of just like hard charging, trying to accomplish. All of your self-worth is built around accomplishments. And it's a recipe for disaster for a lot of people. At least it was for me.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you talk about that because not a lot of people will touch on that. You know, it's just so weird because I was just talking about it with this guy, Michael, today too. We were talking about, you know, what are our hobbies? I'm like, I don't have hobbies. My hobby is like making money. And I feel like that doesn't even sound good, right? It sounds like really shitty. But I'm like, you know, I used to when I was younger, I did martial arts. I had a martial arts school. I did all that. I never really considered that a hobby, you know, and it doesn't get me excited to go punch and kick, you know, but when I put up a new funnel, like that's a hobby. Like, I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, this is exciting. You know, when I run an ad, that's exciting. So, I'd love to just get your opinion on it. One of the things that I'm just kind of racking my head about is maybe I need to go ahead and find something else to do. Like not like do my marketing, do my business, but find an extra, like go fishing or something. Maybe I like fishing. I don't even know. I've never gone fishing, and maybe try and find a hobby or something, what do you think of that? Do you think that's a good
I
approach?
mean, that's a huge problem for entrepreneurs. And like, I fell into the trap years ago where I followed like Gary Vaynerchuk for probably like right when he came out in like 2007 or whenever that was. And I remember just being like, boom, just instantly attracted to it, just like grind, like 15 hours a day. And that's what I did. And which actually, when you're kind of building your business, is not the worst thing. But like I said, you hit a point where you can't grind anymore. You can't put in more time. You can't work any harder. And what you're saying about kind of having your hobbies and having your other time to yourself, it's like this badge of honor among entrepreneurs that like, oh yeah, I work 15 hours a day. And it's like, I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, well, you're a fucking idiot then, because it is an absolute recipe for disaster. Like, you can get away with it when you're like 25 and single, like, but I don't have kids, or I'm not married now, but all my buddies who are married, it's like, you can't do that forever.
Right.
It's not realistic whatsoever.
No, I totally agree. You've got to be able to develop systems. I mean, there's a point where you're just kind of running on the little hamster. You're just going in circles. You've got to be able to systematize stuff. And I mean, I'm sure we could find, as entrepreneurs, we can always find something within our business that we can work on all day and all night. But having the ability, I mean, like for real, I have funnels right now that I have to complete and finish for my own stuff. Like I could be working 24/7 if I had to, if I want to.
Right.
But I mean, it's true. I'm only 32, but I'm really aware of my age. I feel like I've had a midlife crisis like 20 times already, and I mean, every year I look back and I'm just like, man, what am I going to do the same thing this year? Because this year financially I'm better, but time wise, nothing's really changed in the last 3 years. I still work the same. I still travel the same. I'm not working 15-hour days, but nothing's really changed, So I like to look at these things. I'm trying to look at myself each year. I'm like, dude, I could die tomorrow. Like, is this really what I want to fucking do? So what do you think of that? I mean, do you have these types of thoughts? Maybe I'm just crazy. I hope you have these thoughts. Do you have these kind of end of your life type thoughts? Because the more entrepreneurs I think of or speak with, the more of them actually think about this too. They're more aware that they could possibly die tomorrow or something. And I feel like that's almost something that drives them,
Yeah, so one of the things like I'm doing now, my goal for like this year, I was very much, I don't know, it's actually hard to explain I was explaining this to an entrepreneur the other day who was like pushing me to like get back in and build like a big company. And I was like, I'm not at the spot right now where that interests me. And he like just couldn't fathom it and like almost like trying to like guilt me for it. And I was like, no, I'm building this coaching business with Stefan. I was like, it's going really well. I'm making a bunch of money and I like what I'm doing, and it's not a huge time commitment. And for me, I'm like where I'm at right now, that's what I want right now. I mean, maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, I'll want to go back and build some huge product business and try to scale it to 9 figures. But I'm like, that's where I'm at right now, and I'm happy with that. And that's kind of hard for a lot of entrepreneurs to understand. Like, they're like, well, why don't you want to like do that? You're so much more talented. You should be building like the next like $100 million company. And I'm just like, maybe I will someday, but like right now, that's not where I'm at.
Well, it's cool because you've got a perspective a lot of people don't have. You've been there, done that, so to speak. Like you've been in the big business type of world where you're scaling products. You have all these employees you're sharing, and it's just it can be a headache. I mean, I've never scaled anything to that extent. I've worked with companies who have, and I see the organization it takes. You've really almost got to be like an organization Nazi, you know what I mean? Because if little things fall through the cracks at scale, that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in fuck ups that really don't need to happen, So I think that's cool. It shows a lot of that you actually understand yourself. Do you mind if I ask how old you are? Because we're doing it publicly anyway, I guess, right?
Yeah, I'm 35, which is funny to me because I remember when I started in this business and when I was going to like conferences, I was probably like, I don't know, 24 at the time, 23, somewhere in there. And like, I remember being the young dude at every conference and like the older guys, like, and even back then, like there weren't very many young people. It was mostly all older people who came over from like direct mail and shit like that. And it was very weird, like being the young guy. And I always actually thought of myself as the young guy. Now, like, I still like think of myself as that, and I like have to I'm like, no, you're fucking like 35 now. Like there's 17-year-olds at TNC like hanging out. It's like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason I asked is
okay anymore.
the reason I ask because you just seem so self-aware, and for someone who's only 35, like looks wise, you look like in your 30s, but mentality wise, I feel like you've got like a 50-year-old, 45-year-old type of mentality because you're aware of what you want. You don't seem like you're confused about it. You've done the big business thing, and now you're transitioning into something that's still very profitable, but it's got less employees, less overhead, and it's kind of for me, it just looks like a sign of maturity from an entrepreneur. You're not just saying, hey, I got to do this because everyone says I got to do this. Let me go do this, How important is that for people to kind of just understand? How important do you think it is to understand yourself and where you are? I mean, you don't want to build a big business if you just aren't capable of that or don't really have the resilience to do that,
Right. Yeah. I mean, super important. Especially in our industry, it's really hard to have your own vision for what you want to do and stick to it because there's just 9 million people coming from all angles telling you like, oh, you should be doing this. You should be doing Facebook ads. You should be doing like, and it is part of it is honestly just trying a lot of different stuff and figuring out what actually works for you. Some people do better in a bigger company. But I also have a lot of friends who have built a big company and now they're at the point where they have like 60 employees and they're like, I fucking wish I could go back to like 10 of us because this is just nuts. Like it's too much responsibility. Like I'm not making any more money than I was before. It's like I got 60 employees now. I was making more money when I had fucking 7.
Yeah.
So that's a tough spot to be in. I mean, for me, a lot of it is just kind of been through that fire a couple times. So I do have a little better idea. And even though I am only 35, like I said, I've been doing this since I was like 23 or so. So
Yeah.
I do have a decent amount of experience trying all kinds of shit.
Yeah, 100%, dude. So, I mean, you've been in the game. You're doing stuff at a completely different scale that a lot of people can learn from, just even if they're not at the same level, but they can learn from all of your experience. So what are some things that you're seeing in the industry now, just whether that's in internet marketing or maybe even offline marketing stuff that we should be paying attention to? But is there stuff that you're noticing that's working that maybe we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing, and I wrote about this on my email list numerous times and got a really good response. Copywriting and kind of offers in 2019 is completely changed just from the way it was even like last year and 2 years ago. Everything now, the shift from kind of affiliates and email and all that over to pushing everything to Facebook and Google and the tier 1 networks is very evident. And I said in one of my emails that copywriting in 2019 is not about writing what you want and writing the most persuasive thing. It's about writing for compliance. That's probably the biggest change I see right now is everybody who has like these hard hitting VSLs, they got really long form sales pages that work great for affiliates or they work great on email stuff, but you can't run them on Google or you can't run them on Facebook, and really trying to figure that out, how to get that an aspect of that working on Facebook or get that working on Google so you could scale it to 500 or 1,000 sales a day. That's the biggest thing I see changing right now.
Dude, that's so true. That's so true. And I don't think anyone else is really talking about that. So it's cool that you bring that up. Everybody talks about copy being for conversions and persuasion. Obviously, we have to do that, but there's definitely stuff that you can't run anymore. I mean, I can't even say, get this. I can't even do my free plus shipping offers by saying, hey, claim your free Infinity Cross necklace that I sell, right? Just click here. I can't even do that unless I put just pay shipping. Like little things like that will get your account flagged and banned. And I know it because I've gotten them all. It's all happened to me. I've gotten my account banned and flagged and stuff that it's not necessarily illegal. I'm not writing anything illegal, but it's just not compliant. And so that compliance thing is huge because you can write the best sales letter in the world, but if you can't get the people there, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter,
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, all the companies I work with, so I consult with a number of big companies, and then I have a coaching program where people in that, it's a very similar group. It's a lot of business owners, and it's literally all the exact same. I hear from all of them. Everyone's trying to scale on Facebook. Everyone's trying to scale on Google or native. And trying to get the compliance stuff down with your copy is probably the biggest pain in the ass right now for everyone.
So what's next for you? Or like you've done so much stuff with the products and scaling, and now it sounds like you've got a really cool coaching program. Is that your main focus now?
Yeah, so Stefan and I, so you had Stefan on. Stefan Georgi is my partner in it. He's probably, I call him I honestly think he's the greatest living copywriter right now, along with Craig Clemens. I think he has put out more hits. I kind of judge copywriters by how they write for cold traffic. And if you have hits on cold traffic, that means you're a boss. And he's probably had more hits on cold traffic than I would say pretty much anyone.
He was writing like 8 VSLs a month or some shit. He's telling me.
Machine.
Like, holy fuck, dude! Let me get some of that superpower.
Yeah, he's a machine. But anyway, yeah. So me and Steph been partnered together on this one called Copy Accelerator, where we're basically business owners can send their employees to us, and we'll teach them how to write copy. And then it's also open to like freelance copywriters or solopreneurs, stuff like that, who want to make their own copy better. Yeah, we launched it, man, like 3 weeks ago, and we got like 53 people in it already.
Wow.
Which is awesome. And it's not cheap. I mean, it's the high end, it's like 30 grand a year, and then the lower end's about 18 grand a year.
Wow.
So yeah, we got it. It was a huge need. We both saw this need, and that was one of the reasons I contacted him. It's funny. I was actually going to do it. This kind of ties back to what you were talking about before with knowing when to partner with people. I actually was going to do this program by myself. And I could have done pretty damn well with it by myself, but I kind of came to the conclusion. I was like, if I add another badass copywriter to this, it would turn into a 1 + 1 = 3 kind of situation. I was like, it could be truly great if I did this with a copywriter who's kind of on another level. So I talked to a bunch of copywriters. I finally talked to Stefan, and I was like, you're a perfect fit for this. Let's do it. Yeah. Anyways, that's kind of where I'm at now is building that program and helping people with their copy.
Dude, I love it. I love it. So there's a lot of people, the folks who listen to this would actually probably be a really great fit for that. So it's primarily copywriters, media buyers, marketers, business owners. And so a lot of these folks need copy. And, you know, if somebody wanted to work with you or find out more about this, how could they get in contact with you?
So easiest thing I tell people to do is just get on my email list. So I have a private email list. It's not open. You can't just like opt in. But there's basically like an application with about 6 questions. You fill it out, and then I actually personally go through each application. And if you make it on the list, because my reason is I actually respond to people who respond to my emails. So I want actually dedicated people and higher end people who actually know what the hell they're doing. A bunch of dudes are going to email me a bunch of crap that I don't want to deal with.
No, 100%, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, if anybody wanted to get on that, the URL is just go to justingofflist.com. And that'll take you to a little, it's like 5 questions. And then within like 48 hours, you'll either get accepted or not.
Okay. So justingofflist.com, right?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, guys. So make sure you head over to there, add him as a friend on Facebook, get on that list, justingofflist.com, sign up. He's got some real heavy hitters. Every once in a while, I'll see him make a post about the types of people who are on his list, and they are the world-renowned copywriters, marketers, people you probably follow or have paid for their courses. They're on his list. So I highly suggest to get on it, justingofflist.com. Justin, man, thank you so much for hopping on the show, dude. I really appreciate you for being here.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
Take care, man.